Welcome to my pre-ride of 2021 Overijse World Cup Edition. This is my first time racing this course, let alone having it be the final World Cup of the season. I had kind of high hopes coming into this weekend, and the course did not disappoint, although my legs did, and you'll see why throughout this pre-ride. So this is not the start. The start is immediately to our right. This is the finish straight. So the start grid to our right points us right up this hill. Don't let that glowing orb confuse you. It's not a happy, sunshiny experience. You can tell right now I'm not going crazy. This is 4x speed because this climb is like a minute and a half long. So now I've slowed it down to sort of regular pace. Although I must admit, the 4X kind of seemed like the race pace off of the start. And again, it keeps going, and I just slowed it down there to show you a little bit of change in pace, but it shallows out, so you go a little bit faster, and then you transition onto these cobbles. And then off of the cobbles, we're making a left-hand turn onto some slick grass. And if you mess up this turn, you're just going to eject straight into the pits. And you better hope your mechanics are ready, because if you go into the pits, you got to do something. So there are sort of two lines here, what's probably from tractors or gators on the course. And grass is grip, people. So I was aiming for the grass, but I also played around with ruts. In North America, we don't really get ruts, but you see, I just rode one. I was able to ride the ruts quite a bit in the race, only high-sided for one lap. So this is just downhill, nice swoopy turns, and the grass is real slick. It's not exactly clay, but it's a pretty slick mud. And here I'm trying to climb this, and Sydney McGill gets in my way, and I told her I would have climbed that if it weren't for you. And if I would have climbed at that time, I would have won the race. Alas, she messed me up, so instead I got 27th in the race. But it was a run for everyone in the race anyways. You can see a big clump of grass flying off my tire there. That didn't happen too much in the race because after our pre-ride and the men's pre-ride, a lot of the grass was ripped up or just kind of mushed down to make it super, super slick. Another sweeping left-hand turn. This set of turns, that's snow on the ground right there. It's not like salt or, I don't know, sugar or something delicious. It's snow. So a lot of this grass ended up kind of disappearing in these turns. I don't know if they're steeper, but they were definitely more slick than the ones up top. And yeah, finding the line come race time was fun. Now this, I have no idea where all of a sudden all of these ruts come from, but they eject you down onto these cobbles, and the ruts just got really deep. And again, I don't know why there were 8 of them going in different directions and how they got so deep, but there were also so many of them. Makes absolutely no sense to me. So anyways, obviously we just did a really long climb, a climb that was steep, transitioned to shallow, went up some cobbles, and then the course designer was like, you know what we need? We need more climbing. So we're going to descend down this slick-ass grass, and then we're going to climb up these cobbles. Luckily, it wasn't really that steep, and it had a nice little, gutter lane thing here that kind of made it for smooth travel. So took that, and then hopped back onto the cobbles. We're flat now. And I have some sort of ball court to our right, ? There's a traditional hedge in the way because the people here love their hedges. Little transition surface here before we plunge down and take some, sort of techie turns through the woods. And these turns weren't quite slick. They were pretty dry. So drop down there, make a right-hand turn, and now we're climbing. And this kind of looks like it's sped up, but it's not. I'm just super fit and fast for pre-ride. Just pre-ride though, not in the race. Sorry. So on these turns, I actually found not being in the lane, not in the traveled line, was the best line for me, mostly because the ground was a bit softer and it was sort of self-braking. I know it looks like I hit the post there, but I didn't. I ejected and just tried to hug that corner real tight because I knew that I was not going to be able to ride that turn and then ride this hill. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to because I saw Lucinda Brand walking up it. And I was like, shoot, if Lucinda's walking this, I'm going to walk this. Although, I'm pretty sure later on, you're going to see Sven on the side of the course eyeballing me as I ride something, and he's obviously real impressed. But I'm going to speed this up a little bit now, because it's going pretty slow. Oh, actually, no, the next part is slow. This part isn't slow. We're going to make a left-hand turn and hop back on the bike. And you know that what goes up must go down, so we're going to find our way through these roots. Sweeping right-hand turn. And this is a lot like the turn we just had where we're doubling back on ourselves and climbing through the mud, but this one is actually rideable. I'm hopping off right now because I had shifted under load, but my derailleur did not immediately shift, and I rarely have that problem, so I was worried maybe there was a rock in my cassette or something, so I just wanted to check it immediately to make sure I didn't blow something up, but it was fine. I don't know, just had a little hesitation. Pretty rare for Shimano. It was worth taking a look at. No need to destroy your crap on Preride, people. Anyways, making this climb here through the mud, it ended up being a little bit faster in the race, obviously because you're putting more effort down, but I'm pretty sure at some point here is when Sven was eyeballing me, obviously super impressed with my ability to do things. If it wasn't on this lap, then it was on another lap. It definitely happened. This was maybe the one part of the course where I took a little bit of a breather. These turns, they weren't really that slick, but they were definitely awkward, and I just took the chance to take a few deep breaths. And right here, it's an innocuous little plunge down onto some, I don't know, little paver stone things. And I'd already ridden it once, but I was thinking about taking a different line. And then I was like, I don't know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I just took the line that everyone else took. Again, it's funny when I think I can do things. And this was another spot to get a little bit of a breather, setting up for a right-hand turn here, taking the apex as we're going to take that little chicane left and then gain some speed to take as much momentum into this mud as possible. Because this is not like your typical Belgian sucky mud, this is more slippy mud, and if you ask me, I think momentum is your friend and it can carry you through a lot of it, assuming that it's flat. But most of this is uphill, so mud plus uphill means I'm gonna walk. And right there at that, where the right-hand turn starts, was the dismount point, and you're picking up your bike and you're running. But in this case, I'm keeping my bike down and I'm sadly walking. Left-hand turn, and you think you get maybe a little bit of reprieve because you're turning, but no, it's still kind of like uphill and muddy. Let me tell you, friends, that in the race, that felt like it was about as fast as we were going. Now, it's more of a courtesy trot, not even a run, to get a little bit of momentum to hop back on the bike because it's slightly less uphill and therefore more pedally. And this is pit 2 on our right. This is where I ended up pitting every time that I did pit in the race, which was, I think, every lap or so, just because it was so muddy. And we're going to set up for a nice left-hand turn here and take a few really deep breaths because, thank God, we're not running or pedaling right now. And look at that, I just rode a rut. What? Everybody not from North America is like, wait, I don't get it. That's a thing? So a few little transitions here, and then another steep little plunge into some real soupy mud. I don't know where all that water came from. Draining from the pits? Who knows? Classic little up-de-doo as we go across some mulch, and then as I ride this, I'm wondering if this is where that spectator fell down like across the race lane a few years ago during the men's race. I have no idea. But this was a run-up or an apathetic walk-up, if you're me doing this right now. Wait, seriously, like, what am I doing? I'm just standing there. Keep going, keep going. People got shit to do. Hop on here and make sure you're under geared before the run-up, because as soon as you hop on, you have to go up. Don't hit that tree, but thanks for putting a pad there. I did not ride those little log things during the race, because if you take them, the line sends you up onto this concrete pathway, and it was a really abrupt transition with a really sharp edge, so I ended up riding the edge and just like where there was less of an abrupt transition, I just like hopped over because, you know, homegirl doesn't want to flat. Up a steep little pitch, making a left-hand turn in little muddy climb with no momentum, so it ended up being a run. And, you know, why would we want to only go downhill? So they send us uphill only to send us downhill again. And this section, luckily not too many routes up here, as you're thankful to like not have to think and not have to pedal before we take a little rooty turn. And I think I crashed here once in the race because I thought I was going to be a hero, but I wasn't. Navigate through some roots. We're going downhill before a right-hand turn, hook the rut, and then pedal up this slick uphill off camber. luckily it was rideable, even if that was super awkward. Now this was a fun turn. This was a real muddy downhill. The mud's kind of wanting to push you around. And do you want to like ride low and try to stick the grass and be on your bike as long as possible, or dismount as you're going down, slide through the mud, and then cut the apex of the corner and run a lot more? Also, I mounted right there and it was no problem. Right? You're like at the top of the hill, may as well mount. Tried that lap 1 or 2. My front wheel just sunk in some mud and I just stubbed my crotch on my saddle real hard as I went nowhere. It was real sad. So I had to run further in the race. That was a little fun downhill there, transitioning onto pavement that of course got wet mud as opposed to dry mud dragged all over it. And what do I love more than turning on wet mud on pavement with low pressure? I love nothing more than doing that. Transitioning through some heavy mud up onto another little sidewalk section, and deep breaths, hop over this little curb, don't flat, little girl. And this turn ended up being kind of annoying because it was just so sloggy to get out of it. And you see those green strips of Serenity on the side there? They weren't really there during the race. Oh, that was a real pitiful, like, hop over that curb. But you were going so slow, and the curb was so sharp. It was like, here's a little razor edge. Don't knock your tire on it. So this was another part of the course where you could sort of catch your breath. Maybe this was downhill and you're turning on pavement, and we're going to hop up and over this nice snowy little transitional bridge and turn back on. And this is the start-finish straight. And that was your lap, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you enjoyed it, because I know I sure didn't. Just kidding, I did. It was a lot of fun. Seriously, one of the better races I did. I hope it stays on the World Cup circuit, and I hope I have more insightful things to say in the future about this race, because today it was more about not dying, because I was tired. And I'm tired now, so I'm going to go to bed. Thanks for joining.